Welcome, family, to another show. Today we have one of my special guests, a return guest, one of my biggest interviews to date. Mr. Dennis JeanPierre is in the building. He's currently in Rio right now. What's going on, Dennis?
What's happening, Aaron? What's good?
Man, what's good with you, man? I see the beautiful beach in the background. I see some women. What's going on out there in Rio?
Man, this shit is bumping out here, bro. This shit
Uh
is
huh.
bumping. The weather's been nice. It's been sunny and clear every day for like 7 or 8 days straight.
Hmm.
And so, the Cariocas here, they like the sun, so everybody's out. And this is Tuesday, Wednesday.
It's Wednesday.
It's Wednesday, man.
I think it's
Look at
supposed
this.
to Tuesday. Man, it
Let's look
might be.
around, man.
And we both in foreign countries don't know what day it is. That means something, right?
Yeah, that means the days blend together.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Most definitely, man. So you came out here to Colombia. You was out here for what? How long you was out here?
I was in Medellin for 2 weeks.
Okay, nice, nice, nice. And it was your first time in Medellin, correct?
Yes.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. Now, you a Rio veteran. What did you think about Medellin?
Medellin was cool. I mean, the area that I stayed in Laureles
Hmm.
because I didn't want to be up in the hills, climbing hills up in Fort
I
Bottom and
remember.
stuff
I
like
remember
that.
you kept saying that.
And so I stayed 2 blocks from La Setenta.
Hmm.
And for those who don't know, La Setenta is a street. It's like maybe a mile or two or nothing but bars, restaurants, clubs, and stuff like that.
Hmm.
So I stayed 2 blocks from there, man. I like that neighborhood. I was able to walk the neighborhood. It was pretty cool. I enjoyed it. But I'm a beach guy.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? I'm a beach guy, so I started missing the beach. I'm like, damn, I can't go to no beach out here. And but other than that, the energy was real cool. The energy was cool in Medellin.
Hmm.
And also,
So,
I've never seen so many motorcycles in my life. I'm like, God damn, it's a lot of motorcycles out here.
right, right.
But uh, but I was glad I was able to chop it up with you. For those who don't know, me and Aaron was able to meet up and chop it up, man. Real cool brother. You can tell when you meet some guys, they real guys. I could tell
Hmm.
Aaron was a real dude. So it was nice meeting him in person finally.
Man, I appreciate that, bro. I appreciate that. And it's cool, man, because you can do a really good comparison because you've been in Colombia, and you went straight to Brazil right afterwards.
Yes.
You were trying to get me to go with you. You was like, man, come on down, man.
Yeah, I was like, he's like, man, I gotta get back down there. I said, you should come with me, man. When I first got here, the first week, it was cold here. It was cold. It was like cold and windy. It was like in the 60s. You needed your a windbreaker. But then the weather finally broke, and then it started. The weather started looking like what you see right now.
Okay, cool, 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 man. And let me ask you this: did you fly? Because I believe that Colombia had banned people from flying from Colombia to Brazil. Did you fly directly from Colombia, or did you have to leave and go to somewhere else?
I had a stopover in Panama City.
Okay.
I had a stopover for about 3 or 4 hours, and then I headed
Hmm.
from Panama City to Rio. It was like a 6.5 hour flight.
Hmm.
So that was a long 6.5 hours, man.
Hmm.
Because usually when I come down here, I'm coming from the United States. I'm coming from Miami, and it's an 8 hour flight. But you can sleep and do other things. But that was a long ass 6 hours.
Hmm.
But I made it down here, man. It's always worth the trip. It's always worth the long trip. It's never the pleasure is worth the pain. Trust me.
Nice, nice. We got 18 in the room. Do me a favor, fellas. First of all, I want to shout out Antonio Gray for the $20 super chat. I really appreciate that, brother. Salute to you. Also, hit that like button when you come in the room. We're gonna drop some good information today because my brother is a world traveler. He's been all through Brazil, and he recently left Colombia. So, super chat your questions, and I'm gonna ask him a few questions as well. Now, you was here for a couple of weeks. We went out. We had a great time. Let's talk about the nightlife. What's the difference between the nightlife in Colombia versus the nightlife in Brazil?
Mm,
Because I think we went out. We was out pretty late, man. You got a good feel of the nightlife when you was here.
hmm. The nightlife in Brazil versus the nightlife in Medellin.
Hmm.
Uh, the energy is similar. The energy is similar. Just from I only went to La Satinta and Pacayeres, so I can only compare those two. The energy is similar. The demographics of the women is a little different. You know what I'm saying? But they're both great, man. They're both great. There's more. I felt more of a hip hop vibe in Medellin. You know what I'm saying? Some of the spots out there. Whereas here in Rio, you got all types of music: hip hop, pagode, samba, all types of music. But the places I visited, Colombia, they got their own music. But I would say the vibe is very similar. I didn't feel like, any culture shock or nothing like that. It felt very familiar when I went to Medellin. It felt similar to it's not exactly the same, but it felt similar. And like what you said, I heard you say before, and I've heard other YouTubers say this before. Medellin, it's like sit down culture. Everybody's sitting down, you know what I'm saying? The discotecas, people are sitting down, drinking, listening to music. It's the same thing here, but they also dance here. You know what I'm saying? For example, I was in Lapa last weekend. For those who don't know, Lapa is one of the entertainment districts here in Rio. And you got all different types of clubs, man, all different types of music. People dancing, people walking, dancing in the street. I mean, it's really the social vibe down here is really superior to anything in the United States. In Medellin too, the social vibe is superior. I made a post on Facebook a couple weeks back saying that America is very sterile and boring compared to these places.
It really is. It really is. It's like the culture left America or something, man. The type of fun we used to have in the late 90s, early 2000s, it's just not what's going on right now.
It's not. It died off. It died off around the mid 2000s. I don't know what happened, but it's not the same. Definitely not.
I want to give a shout out to James Best for a $20 super chat. I really appreciate that, my brother. Let me ask you this, Dennis. As far as let's talk about the women now. Let's talk about how the women look in comparison, the differences between the phenotype of women in Brazil and Colombia.
Well, in Medellin, I noticed that you have a lot of blancas, what we refer to as blancas, or the white Latina-looking type females. Whereas here in Rio, you have everything: white, black, morenas, Asians, blondes. I mean, all types. You got the whole spectrum. Whereas in Medellin, you don't have that variety that you have here. I also noticed in Medellin, you had a lot of surgical enhancements. I would say maybe 30%.
You got a lot of that. You have a lot of that.
From my observations, I would say 30% of the women in Medellin are surgically enhanced.
Most definitely.
And you got that out here too in Rio, but it's not like it is in Medellin. You got a lot more natural bodies out here. You know what I'm saying? But if you like the Latina, the light-skinned Latina type, Medellin is a great place for that. I saw a lot of talent in the streets. You see a lot of talent in the street here in Rio, but you have more variety here in Rio. From the darkest of dark to the white blonde to the the morena types. I mean, all types of women here, man. It's ridiculous.
It's funny because as you're speaking, we just see none but women come walking in the background.
Yeah, I just saw one walking in front of me. I'm like, God damn, you get in trouble down here, man. I'm glad I did. You know what? If I would have came down here in my 20s, I would have got in trouble. Big trouble.
So let me ask you this, man. Did you see a difference in like the attitudes of the Colombian women versus the Brazilian women?
No.
They're all pretty sweet, right?
Yeah, they're all pretty feminine. They're pretty sweet. You don't encounter the nastiness. You don't encounter the funky attitudes. I mean, of course, you got a few girls out here that act like that, and Medellin too. But in general, no, you just don't see that. You just don't encounter much of that. So they're a breath of fresh air to deal with, man. They're a breath of fresh air. We're so accustomed to so much resistance and fighting in the United States that when we come here, we're kind of like, damn, it's refreshing.
It really is, man, because you can approach almost any beautiful woman and engage in a small conversation, and she won't be rude to you at all.
Absolutely. Even if she's not interested, she'll still at least stop and listen to what you're saying.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? She'll politely decline. If you express interest in the woman, she'll politely decline. The worst they'll do is keep walking. You
Hmm.
know what I'm saying? If you see a girl walking down the street, for example, and you try to push up on her, and she's not interested, the very worst she'll do is just keep walking, like she didn't see you or hear you.
Hmm.
That's the
Hmm.
worst I've encountered. I've never encountered any flat out nastiness, flat out mean spirited responses or nothing like that. I've never experienced that.
Now I want to ask you this: you speak Portuguese, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Is it similar to Spanish? Was you able to understand some Spanish while you was here?
Uh,
Ooh, look at that
I,
background.
I,
I'm about to change the
I
thumbnail.
was about to. I kind of got confused out there
Uh
in
huh.
Medellin because it's like my first impulse is to speak Portuguese.
Hmm.
So in the morning, for example, whenever I would greet the hotel staff,
Hmm.
I'll be like, "Bom dia." Oh, no, no, no. Buenos dias. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? So that happened a lot. That happened a lot when I was in Medellin
Hmm.
because a lot of Portuguese words and Spanish words are similar, as we all know, but the pronunciation is totally different.
Hmm.
The pronunciation is different.
Hmm.
So, but towards the end of my trip in Medellin, I became more accustomed to speaking Spanish every day. Because that was the first time in my life that I was forced to speak Spanish every single day.
And you were speaking Spanish. We went to that little restaurant. You were speaking a little Spanish to the female.
Yes, yes,
Hmm.
yes. I was speaking Spanish, and had I spent more time there, I would have got even more accustomed to it.
Hmm.
But once I touched down here in Rio, it was back to what I'm good at.
Hmm. Nice, nice. And let me ask you this, man. What's the differences between the food in Colombia versus in Brazil? Did you see any differences or taste any
I thought
differences?
I thought the food in Colombia was okay.
Okay.
I thought it was okay, and I've heard other people say this too. They say the food is a little bland or whatever. But
Hmm.
the food here is in Rio is great. The food
Hmm.
here is great. The ice cream shops are great. You
Hmm.
got flavors here that you never see in the United States. The,
Hmm.
the the sweets, the cookies, and all the stuff. It's just great here, man.
Hmm.
All that stuff is great. The food overall is great here. The
Hmm.
seafood is fresh. You know what I'm saying? It's not a lot of processed foods here.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like you have in the United States.
Hmm.
But I like the food better in Rio.
Hmm.
So,
And let's talk about the weather in comparison to Rio. Is it hot down there right now?
it's hot right now. It's like close to 90 degrees right now.
Okay, nice. Okay.
Now this is Brazil's winter time.
Hmm.
So in Rio, you get a range of temperatures. Like I said, when I first got here, it was cold. It was like in the 60s. As a matter of fact, I was sick my first several days here. Because when I left Medellin, it was like in the mid 80s, temperature wise. I get here, it's like in the 60s. So I got sick. And but then after a week or so, the weather started warming up. It's been
Hmm.
it's been it's been clear and sunny for the past 7 straight days.
Hmm.
And everybody's out.
Hmm. Nice, nice. Now let's talk about apartments down there. I know you stay in La Relis. Are the apartments here in Colombia? Do you feel like they're a little bit more reasonable than the ones in Rio? Or
I think they're about the same. They're
okay,
about they're about the same, at least from my observation.
hmm,
Uh, I go on Airbnb to get my apartments.
okay,
My range, because I stay in Rio or I stay in Brazil for long periods of time, my range price wise is $35 to $50 a day. I try to stay
hmm,
within that range.
hmm,
So yeah, man, you can get some decent spots down here for within that range. Some guys pay more, and if you pay a lot more, you get a higher quality apartment. You know what I'm saying, luxury suite or whatever you want to get. But for
hmm.
my purposes, $35 to $50 a day is my range when I search for apartments on Airbnb, whether here or in Medellin.
Okay, and let's talk about the quality of apartments.
Mhm.
As far as we call them Americanized apartments, where it just seems to be a little bit more upgraded from
Yes.
normal apartments you would see in South America. You think the apartments in Colombia are a little nicer than the ones in Brazil, or you think it's equal?
I noticed that the construction in Medellin of the buildings is a little better than the ones here in Rio.
Okay.
Particularly in Copacabana. In Copacabana, the buildings are pretty old.
Yeah, they are.
Ipanema, these are older buildings. Got a lot of older buildings. As a matter of fact, when you walk through some of these neighborhoods in Copacabana, you feel like you're stuck in the 70s. When you walk through some of these buildings and see some of these apartments, you feel like you're stuck in the 70s. But to me, that kind of adds to the charm. Like the first apartment I was in down here, when I first got here, I felt like I was in the 70s, stuck in the 70s, but that adds to the charm of the place. Whereas in Medellin, I noticed they use a little bit more modern materials, a little bit more modern architecture. You know what I'm saying?
But that's very true. You say that, man, because I believe that's why I went into that culture shock when I first got to Rio the first time. I felt like I went back in time about 30 years, and it threw me off a little bit.
Yes. But there is a section of Rio called Barra da Tijuca. Some people have heard about it. It's like the newest part of Rio. I think it's only like 60 years old or something like that. And that's where they held all the Olympic events during the Olympics in 2016. So it's a lot more modern out there. A lot more modern apartments, amenities, shopping malls. It's a little more modern than Copacabana and Ipanema.
I want to give a shout out to Osama Abdul for the $5 super chat. I really appreciate that. I believe you're in the group too, man. He said, shout out to BMT and Dennis JeanPierre, DJP, the top duo in the SYSBM. BMT, are you planning on doing a collab with MT1 or International Passport? Most definitely. I'm doing a collab with the Blackmen's option sometime this week. And I also got QB Willie B of the Mex treatment this week as well, man. So we definitely going to chop it up with our fellow traveling brothers. I also want to catch this other super chat by Delanoy Music. Shout out for the $5 super chat. I appreciate that. He said, I can't help but laugh. All these women walking behind you. I miss Brazil. I can't wait to go back.
Dude,
yes, most definitely.
It's ridiculous. I mean, you get whiplash turning your head so much out here. You get every day. Every day. Every single day. And I'm not exaggerating. People think we be exaggerating when we talk about the women down here in Rio, man. This shit is for real here, man. This
really
is the real deal.
It really is, man. Let me ask you this. Did you break your neck a lot in Colombia as well, or?
I did.
I know you did.
I did. Especially, my first Friday night in Portuguese. I'm like, holy shit. I'm like wave after wave after wave of beautiful women, man.
Let me ask you this. Was you kind of shocked because Colombia actually has a very big black population? Was you shocked at the amount of Afro Latinos you saw here?
Well, check this out. I did the Comuna 13 tour. For those who don't know, Comuna 13 is like one of the community. It's similar to the favelas here in Brazil.
It sure is.
And I went up there on a tour, and the tour guide told me that 40% of the residents in Comuna 13 are Afro-Colombian, and that shocked me.
Yeah. Okay.
So, yeah, man, it was surprising.
Yeah, most definitely, man. Most definitely. And let me ask you this. As far as the transportation, is it cheaper in Colombia versus Rio, or is it about the same?
It's about the same. I normally take Ubers.
Okay.
I've only taken a city bus a couple times here in Rio in all my trips here. The Ubers are so cheap here in Copa, man. You really don't need a car. I made a joke, like I can get a Uber down here to where I'm at right now from my apartment for $1. It's like cheaper than walking shit. But I think cost wise, it's extremely cheap. I think I was going from Portuguese to Laureles for like what?
Probably 20,000 pesos.
Yeah, like $6.
Okay, yeah,
like
about
that.
$5-6, yeah.
Yeah, that's not exactly close.
No, it's not.
It's not close. That's like a 20-30 minute drive. So yeah, the Ubers are really cheap. So transportation is not an issue in either of these cities. You're gonna get around.
It's funny, man, because when I first moved to Colombia, I was a little worried about my Uber bill. I'm like, man, I'm taking Ubers every day. It's gonna be expensive. But when I finally did the math and the transaction rate, I was like, oh, this is nothing. You know, it's
Yeah,
small in comparison. It's cheaper than car insurance. Let's put it that way.
I did the same thing my last couple trips here. I'm thinking I'm spending so much on transportation. I go back and look at my bank statement. It's like
Mm-hmm.
$1,
Mm-hmm.
$2, $1.
Mm-hmm.
It's nothing.
Mm-hmm.
It's nothing.
Most definitely, most definitely. And let me ask you this, man. Is there like a dating app or service that guys can use when they first get down to Brazil or pregame before they get down there?
Well, I advise any guy, especially if you don't speak Portuguese and
Mm-hmm.
you don't have a social circle, social network down here.
Mm-hmm.
Pipeline before you come. Get to know a couple
Mm-hmm.
ladies online. You know what I'm saying? That can possibly show you around when you get here, show you the ropes or whatever. Because you don't want to come down here totally naked. You know what I'm saying? You don't want to come down here and not knowing the language and don't know nobody. You know what I'm saying? You want to know at least a little bit of the language or at least a couple ladies before you touch down to make your transition a little easier. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I'm saying? Tinder is good. Brazil Cupid is good. Those are the two main ones that I've used over the years. I don't mess around with Badu and all the rest of them. I don't want to spread myself too thin with all these apps. I just use Tinder and Brazil Cupid to meet women. Now, out of all the dating websites that I've paid for
Mm-hmm.
over the years, Brazil Cupid is the only one that was working.
Okay. Brazil Cupid, got you.
Brazil. Now you do have to pay. Now you can't be cheap here. You can't be a cheap
Mm-hmm.
ass and say, "Oh, I don't pay. I'm not paying to talk to her." Listen, if you want to meet some quality, decent girls, make the investment, man. It's worth it. Okay, it's
Mm-hmm.
worth it. If you're coming out here and you don't know anything, it's worth it.
Mm-hmm. Now let me ask you this, man. As you probably, because I know you're in the group and I see you see all the posts. I want to talk about safety for a moment, for us, man. Now in Colombia and Medellin in particular, another beautiful woman walking in the background. We had a lot of cases of tourists or gringos getting drugged. Well, actually, not just gringos and tourists, but men being drugged and robbed. Is it similar in Rio? Do you hear a lot about that in Rio?
Um, you hear the occasional robbery, but nobody gets drugged. I've never heard of anybody getting drugged down here. Never.
Okay.
I see people. You may see occasionally people getting their chain snatched and stuff like that, but it's not like it is like I've been hearing in Medellin.
Hmm.
It's not like that. I don't like. I'm wearing my chain right now because I'm on the beach, but I don't walk down the street with this on.
Okay.
I wear it when I'm on the beach. I take it off when I'm ready to leave. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
Because I got.
So let me.
Go ahead.
So as far as the safe, do you feel safer there than you did in Medellin? Because you was
Yeah,
in La
yes, I
Relas.
do.
That's a pretty. Okay, you still feel safer there. All right.
I mean, of course, when I was in Laureles, I was looking around, you know what I'm saying? I had all this shit in the back of my head, like
Mm-hmm.
motherfuckers on motorcycles rolling by. You know, so I was on the lookout. But after several days, I'm like, man, let me relax.
Mm-hmm.
But overall, I feel safer here in Rio. And plus, the police presence here in Copacabana and Ipanema is pretty heavy. So not too much is going down out here.
Mm-hmm.
I never feel in danger. I walk the street sometimes late at night out here. And you know, nothing happens. I mean, you just got to have basic common sense and basic, street smarts.
Okay. Okay. Now let me ask you this. Because do you go to Lapa on sometimes?
Every once in a while,
Mm-hmm.
when I went last weekend, that was the first time I went to Lapa in several trips. Because I'm not really a club person.
Mm-hmm.
I really don't do clubs.
Mm-hmm.
I really don't do clubs too much. But you see that
Mm-hmm.
walkabout, you see that. But
Mm-hmm. That's all. It
but
look all natural
it,
too.
it is all natural. But I'm not really a club guy. I'll go with friends, but I won't go to a nightclub by myself no more. But it's still the social atmosphere and the vibe down here is superior to anything that you may find in the United States, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Excellent, excellent. And let me ask you this, man. Do you plan on doing some more traveling in the interior of Brazil like you did on your last trip?
Yes, actually, after I leave here, I'm gonna travel to Manaus, Brazil, which is up in the
Mm-hmm.
Amazon region of Brazil. Manaus is like 3.5 hour plane ride northwest of here. Now check this out. Now I want y'all to check this chick out. About to walk by.
Mm-hmm.
Check this chick out here. This- I
Mm-hmm.
don't know if you can see her.
Oh yeah. I seen her.
Okay, but anyway,
Yeah, she was
let's
nice.
make sure y'all catching this. But yeah, I'm gonna travel up to Manaus for a couple weeks and hang out with some friends. And I'm thinking about coming to Sao Paulo, but I'm not sure. I'm just winging it right now.
Nice. And give us some tips, because we're gonna go ahead and wrap up the show, man. Give us some tips on uh learning Portuguese.
Well, I can tell you the way I did it. I learned through books. I
Mm-hmm.
learned through YouTube. I learned through watching novellas or soap operas,
Mm-hmm.
movies with the subtitles on. But I started out writing writing out words. You know what I'm saying? I use my Google Translate app. I use books, and I'll write out words just like we used to write when we were in school.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? But the thing is, you got to learn to hear Portuguese as well. You got to get used to hearing it
Mm-hmm.
because we live in the United States. Nobody speaks Portuguese there, almost nobody. So it's hard to
Exactly.
practice. So you got to either find some people online to practice with, or start watching novellas.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Or watch the news, and
Mm-hmm.
just slowly start piecing it together. And over time, your comprehension level is going to go up.
Nice.
And trust me, and believe me when I say this, that Portuguese goes a long way here, man. If you speak the language, man, you it opens so many doors for you.
Mm-hmm.
So many doors. Just socially, it just opens so many doors. Because like I said before, pulling out your Google Translate app or whatever app you're using to communicate with people, it destroys the connection after a while.
Mm-hmm. It
You can
really
get a,
does.
you can get away with it for a little while, but it's not sustainable over a long period of time.
Mm-hmm. It's so funny you say that, man, because it's definitely going to be moments when that woman is going to get a little frustrated trying to communicate with you through a translator. Especially when she really wants to communicate with you something important.
Right.
And then the translator doesn't even translate everything correctly 9 times out of 10 as well.
No, and
Especially with like
also
a deep conversation.
exactly, and also with slang.
Mm-hmm.
You know, this
Mm-hmm.
slang spoken on the street here.
Oh
You
yeah.
gotta learn. You can't learn all that stuff on the app. You can't learn that stuff in the book.
Mm-hmm.
You can only learn that by interacting with people here.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
So let me ask you this: if you had to choose which country to live in, which one would
Brazil,
you choose?
Brazil, 100%,
100%.
100 times out of 100. And that's
Mm-hmm.
not to say that Colombia is bad. It's not
Mm-hmm.
to say I didn't like Colombia, but this place here has an energy and a magic to it that's hard to describe. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to
Mm-hmm.
describe. You have to actually come here and experience it for yourself, just like the guys that I interview on my channel.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And they're all hooked.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, most definitely, man. Shout out to you, to your channel, man. Guys, make sure you subscribe to Dennis' channel. Like I said, he's the only YouTuber that I know of that has actually explored the interior of Brazil and gives you really good information and actually has conversations with locals to kind of give you some information. Ooh, look at that one in the background. Jesus Christ. I can't stop looking in the background, bro.
There's only one guy that I know that's been to more. There's only one American brother I know that's been to more cities in Brazil than me. His name is Robert Bowers.
Mm-hmm. I
He's
know
in the group
Robert.
as well.
Yeah,
Yes,
I know Rob. Yeah.
he's the only one that I know of that's been to more cities than me.
Mm-hmm.
And he really broke it down, his observations of different cities. But I'm gonna come back to Brazil at the end of December, and I'm gonna visit some new cities that perhaps y'all never heard of or seen. So it's gonna be interesting.
Nice. And real quick, man, uh cost of living, real quick. How much money do you think you need to be able to live a comfortable life in Brazil monthly?
That's always a tough question because it depends on where you live and what you do.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? It depends on where you live here. Like for example, if you live in Rio, you're going to be spending a little bit more than some perhaps Fortaleza or someplace like that.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm gonna just use Rio for an example. I think you can live comfortably here for anywhere from $2,000 to $3,000 a month, U.S.
So $2,000 to $3,000 a month.
Yeah,
Nice. That's very nice, man. Well, bro, I appreciate you coming on the show again. Another classic interview.
for sure.
Love that we did it on the beach this time. That was a great idea, man. Oh my goodness. Oh,
Look at this.
I mean,
Look at that.
You gotta see this. Yeah, God, you see this.
This is every day out here, y'all. This is every day. When it's sunny like this,
look at it.
It's like this all the time. Every single day. If it's sunny and beautiful, they out, man.
Nice.
They out.
Let me catch this last super chat, man. We're gonna go ahead and click along off the show. Domo Worldwide with the $5 super chat. I appreciate that, bro. He says, I'm talking to a chick I met off Instagram. She's from Corumba Mato. Do you know about that area? Have you ever heard of Corumba Mato?
No.
Yeah, me either. I haven't heard that area too. Oh my goodness. That was right there walking in the background. Man. Don't make no sense.
It's ridiculous.
It don't make no sense, man.
You get in trouble down here, man. And another thing I want to bring up, man. And I told this to a couple guys. It's hard to plan things here, man. It's hard to have structure here. It's hard to have discipline because there's just so much going on. It's just so much going on, man. It's just you'll make plan. You'll say, hey, man, what you doing this? Today's Wednesday. You say, what you doing this Saturday? It's like, I don't know what I'm doing this Saturday because you never, you just.
You know what? That's very similar to here too. Very similar to here. Like it's hard to make plans here.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
My camera's out.
Okay, it's all good, man. Like I said, we'll go ahead and wrap up the show. Once again, I appreciate you coming on. We're gonna do this again sometime, brother.
For sure, man. Always a pleasure.
All right, peace.
Take care.